We met a wall of secrecy when we called past members to uncover the story of Skull and Bones. Many tried to deny all knowledge of the private club formed in 1832.
I don't have a comment on that. Our membership is private. The membership is private, and I really can't tell you whether I am or I'm not.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The symbolism, of course, is the skull and crossbones, right? The death's head, or Totenkopf, I guess as the SS called it during the Second World War. It's a very sinister symbolism. It is obviously Freemasonic.
But now the club's rituals and old boy networks are coming to light.
Most people want to get along, to gain power and prestige. And they know the way to do that is to listen to the guy above you. So if someone, say, in Skull and Bones, calls people he knows, and these people know of the power of Skull and Bones, all it takes is a hint or a suggestion.
What we have here is a private network acting really in violation of the United States Constitution, infesting the White House, the National Security Council, the State Department, the Pentagon, the CIA, and other government institutions.
And yet, all this power stems from the lifelong bonds formed in the Skull and Bones rituals, where an oath of secrecy is sworn.
Do you know how it all started out?
It's been established for, I think, about 150 years in New Haven by undergraduates and graduates of Yale University. 15 members are elected each year. Basically, personal relationships are the most important product of the years that you spend in relationship to the organization.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very personal experience.
And the emissaries of the various secret societies would come up behind them, tap them on the shoulder and say something like, "Skull and Bones, do you accept?" And generally, of course, they did accept. And then as the people were tapped, they then left the courtyard and proceeded to the vault-like or mausoleum-like headquarters of these secret societies. That, I think, since has been abolished or moved indoors or somehow is no longer so easy to observe as it might have been, say, 50 or 100 years ago.
Part of the problem is the source of information. We have very little about bones from the tomb itself, and most comes indirectly, such as an article written by a student that went to Yale and actually lived in the Jonathan Edwards dorm, and he had this to say. It was part of the Jonathan Edwards folklore that on the April evening following tap night at Bones, if one could climb to the tower of Weir Hall, the odd castle that overlooks the Bones courtyard, one could hear strange cries and moans coming from the bowels of the tomb as the 15 newly tapped members were put through what sounded like a harrowing ordeal. Returning alone to my room late at night, I would always cross the street rather than walk the sidewalk that passed right in front of Bones. Even at that safe distance, something about it made my skin crawl.
If you were invited to join the tomb cult, you became part of the East Coast Anglo-Saxon elite, joining the Rockefellers, the Harrimans, and the Bushes.
So the core, as you go through the early 20th century, is comprised of 15 or 20 families, partially from old line American families going back to the Pilgrims, and partially from money, banking money, that came up through the late 19th century.
Conversation at that level is all off the record. There's no press involved, so it's like the men are getting kind of a first-hand understanding. It may not be any big trade secrets or anything, but they're getting this kind of off-the-record understanding of the way things are, or the way things should be. And I think this certainly gives them an advantage in the world, in the economic world, because they know what the directions are, what the kind of movers and shakers are thinking, and what some of the major policy considerations that are being considered.
Are there any famous members or well-known members?
George Bush?
The George Bush?
Yeah. But that kind of focus is not of great interest to the members.
How do you mean?
because we're much more interested in the personal issues than external achievement.
And yet, membership of Skull and Bones seems to result in remarkable careers. Among its members are 3 presidents, a clutch of judges, CIA officials, and various tycoons.
They swear to take care of each other's interests, and they do it. And when that in the normal conduct of life is probably okay, but when one of them becomes president of the United States, it's time to ask questions. What have you sworn to do for your brothers? And what interests are you pushing that are really on their agenda, not on the agenda of the American people?
George W. Bush has been asked about his membership of Skull and Bones.
Does it still exist? The thing is so secret that I'm not even sure it still exists. Record that as the most unusual question I've ever been asked in my entire political life.
With Bush, we reached the bottom of the barrel in terms of American politicians. You have to look at him again and again and say, how did this guy make it?
Bonesman helped fund George W.'s extraordinary rise to power, spending millions on a Bush billboard campaign in key swing states. No family has produced more club members than the Bushes. 9 members of the clan, including Bush's father, the 41st president, are among its alumni.
Mr. President, are you a member of Skull and Bones?
I believe the room.
Devotees are supposed to leave the room if the society's name is mentioned, in case they betray its secrets.
Okay, you ever met Bush or?
Oh yes, he was a couple years behind me, but I have met him.
Bush Sr.'s Skull and Bones name was Magog, the name given to the most sexually experienced bonesman. George W. is known as Temporary, since he was too lazy to change his initial name. Skull and Bones is just one of many secret societies scattered around the United States that still dominate the paths to power. In San Francisco, there is the men-only Bohemian Grove Club.
You have a group that sees itself as superior to all others within society. And I think that is the element which is carried over from Skull and Bones into these organizations, this superiority.
This is a private club. You're not supposed to be here at all. Then turn the camera off.
I'm sorry, where's your property
This is what happened when we tried to film at the Bohemian Grove Club.
Where's the property line? I'm not sure.
Don't.
No, this is a public street.
Founded in 1872 by media and businessmen, modern-day members have included Ronald Reagan and Henry Kissinger.
Move. But you understand, move?
Well, okay, we got the hospitality, the negative hospitality of the San Francisco Bohemian Club. There have been cases where people have written about the club and or snuck in. Dirk Matheson from People magazine snuck in and was actually spotted by a Time Warner executive and expelled from the club, from the Grove. And he, in fact, lost his job 6 months later, although they claimed that it wasn't related to that, but it was certainly coincidental.
These secret networks have also taken their elitist mentality a stage further. Skull and Bones and George Bush Sr. have both been linked to the euthogenics movement, belief in the superiority of the Anglo-Saxon race. And fellow Bonesian, Avril Harriman, has been strongly implicated with US business funding for Hitler in the 1930s.
Are they done? No. There's all that tradition, and it has to be protected, and it has great wealth to protect. And how do they protect it? They'll find new means. They'll hold offices, they'll hold appointive offices and elective offices, and they will be in charge of huge amounts of money.
The Skull and Bones today is one of a number of groups. It happens to be now a semi-secret group. If this is one secret organization, and I was fortunate enough to get the membership list, how do I know, or anybody know, there are not other secret groups where I have not, or nobody else has had the membership list? So we also have to take the hypothesis in mind that there could be other groups which are truly secret. Nobody here is aware of their existence, which have this ultimate purpose.